Grand Rising family. It's Shay Seeking, and this is Not Your Mama's Bible Study, along with a lot of his story live. So I do apologize for the abrupt, um, uh, what do I call it? Oh, interruption or me ending the video so abrupt. But I had to. The video ended up being too long, so I had to go ahead and split it in two. So this is part two of the video. It's going to be labeled something like John Brown historical events compared to Jesus's biblical events. And it's in reference to John chapter 3. No, chapter 2. We're actually in chapter 2 in this one. And we're going to go, it was just like something to give you guys before we go into 3 so we can kind of see where we're coming from when we're correlating and comparing these two figures in the text. So we really mainly in this part talked about what was going on in the biblical aspect. But now since we're going into 3, we're going to go ahead and start reeling in some of the historical facts to compare the two figures and the works that they did. There's lots of correlations here, and I think it should be fun. So we're just trying to figure out. We're trying to get grounded and figure out if this biblical text is just American ancient history that is less talked about, okay, or the wider array of what's really being talked about in history when they actually just give us like a couple of paragraphs or a book that is actually used to kind of dictate with different terminology and everything how we basically perceive things in the historical outlook, and then the same thing with churches and religion with the biblical aspect. So these two things are the things at the top of the pyramid of the caste system to keep the masses mass manipulated. So we're just breaking down the barriers, and we're kind of going in and seeing what this talks about, because these two people shared very close resemblances, as is George Washington to a lord. Okay, but then again, now since we're learning what these terms actually really mean, we can compare the Lord with a lordship. We can compare the Messiah with just that task or that job, and we can compare Christ with that consciousness. So again, we're looking at these. They try to bunch these figures all together when there's different levels to this. Okay, so again, we're just trying to figure out if we're talking about history, and we may be referring to mere men that are historical figures that they have us worshiping as idols. Okay, in the biblical text. So we're bringing out lots of things that really, really fit our theoretic approach that we're doing on this channel. Okay, so we may not get all the answers, but the thing we want to do is or we're going to probably end up doing is having more questions than answers. But again, it's expanding your mind. It's bringing information in and showing you guys that you can't just let something like this come into your body, okay, mind, body, and spirit, without actually paying attention and sifting through what's being said and what's being pushed. Because religion is so different than religion, I always separate religion from the Bible. Religion is the aspect, along with dogma, the perception that the churches and everyone else has put upon us for hundreds of years without us questioning it or holding it up to the light to see if there's something wrong. The Bible is just text. It's text that's telling the story. That is it. I use it as I use any other historical information to look at who and what we're really dealing with and who and what we really are. Okay? So again, thank you guys for watching. It's going to be kind of just like thrown in there, but the video should start now. To laugh. Okay. I don't know. I was just laughing. It just made me think about something, but okay. Okay. Source of Spanish, something that excites wonder or astonishment, extraordinary or remarkable feat. Okay, that's divinity or supernatural power, um, sign, wonder, power. I think that some of us are actually doing this right now with the information that we're bringing forth, and being in tune with it and able to share that with you guys. I think that we're doing signs, not signs and wonder, but you're dealing with something that's a higher power than what you can even articulate. Okay, and you just don't know how. Okay, I wasn't even an avid reader up until about 6 years ago. Because again, when in school and things like that, I couldn't concentrate. I didn't want to read about any of that stuff. I knew it felt wrong. It felt like lies. It felt like nothing that was pertaining to me. Same thing with church. I felt like I did not belong there. There was a different purpose for me, and other people. So again, this is not a single thing. If we're talking about a Christ coming back, you better look for it amongst your people in as a whole, in the group. Okay. Uh, Representation of the life of Christ, Sacred Subjects, 1744, Miracle Whip introduced in 1933. I guess this is talking about the food, probably. Okay, so again, okay, so again, something of wonder, okay, to prove it. And then he said, all right. So, all right, Jesus replied, this is the miracle I will do for you. Destroy this sanctuary, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Okay, so let's see what the sanctuary is. I think I get so excited to show you guys, and I feel bad because I'm taking so long to get around to it, and I know a lot of people don't like to sit there and wait through the videos, but again, I just, this is just the best way I know how. Early 14th century building, set apart from holy worship. Okay, so this sanctuary. So again, you think sanctuary, you think a place where people take wounded animals and things and heal them back up, and things like this. But again, he said destroy this sanctuary, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Okay, so again, are we talking 3 days or 3 years, or are we talking 300 years? Because the time to us will be different to time, as opposed to time with God. Okay, so let's just see if we can see what we're actually talking about. Sacred place. Okay, let's see. Sacred relic, holy thing. I'll leave it alone. Sanctuary, a sacred place, a shrine, a sanctum, also a private room for Latin sanctus, holy, or a saint. Okay, let's see what the sanctum is. A holy place for Jewish tabernacle, from Latin sanctum, a holy place, holy of holies. Hebrew, okay, from neuter of sanctus, holy. Again, attested from 1400, a sense of a person's private retreat. From 1706. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of things just going through my mind, even just reading that. But I'll hold on to them until we get there. Hopefully. Since the time of Constantine. Okay. Sacrilege, general, since place of refuge or protection. So again, I don't know. 1560. Again, were these some people that might have been harvesting other groups? When we're talking about that, when he said let them go, I have to be very careful as to who and what I'm really talking about here. What group of people could have been holding or selling another group of people? To say leave this alone and we'll bring it back means that it must not be something bad, because he was going to raise it up later. So that right there makes me think that, I don't know, that what you're doing here is not that, but we'll change, we'll raise it back up later. And I don't know exactly what that means, but I don't know. I'm going to test it from 1560 land set aside for wild plants or animals. Again, now are we talking about indigenous or aboriginal people here? To breed and live. It is recorded from 1879. So again, 1879, that would be also a little bit more around the time of John Brown, because again, um, uh, well, this is like 79 years after he passed away, but you know, okay, Mecca. Okay, so anyways, let's go back to the word. Let's go back to the word. Okay, um, this is a miracle for you. Okay, and I'll raise it back up. Okay, what? Exclamation mark! They exclaimed. It took 46 years to build this temple. So it's funny we're always talking about temples, but it took 46 years to build this temple. And I think I'll just bring this back in this, because what I do with something like that is try to go around the time that I'm assuming, and then take that number and use it to see what was going on, where it would have been, what can we be talking about. I think I know who I'm talking about. I think I know where we were in the land. I think I know what was going on. So let me apply this and try to look in history and see where somebody made that same remark, that it took 46 years to build a temple in America. I will Google something like that, and then we'll see what it says, because sometimes it'll lead you there. Okay. And you can do it in 3 days. Okay, so he's like, it took us 46 years to get to this point, and you can do it in this time. So again, this could just be to build up, yeah, this could be basically them building up this organization or this secret society for this long. And then he's saying that he can do it in 3 days, which again could be 3 years. And I don't think it's going to be 300 years, because again, now that would be really, or it could have been. It could have been. It could be talking about that time, because 300 years from now, no, 300 years from then would be around now. Okay, so when we're talking about this 400 years, we have to be very careful about who we're talking about and what we're talking about when we're talking about the 400 years, because who was really, what portion of the land, what group was affected at that time. Some groups that weren't affected until the 1800s. Some people weren't even called slaves until the 1800s, the late 1800s. After this man, no, a little bit before this man passed away, because I think 6 years later, something was signed. But anyhow, okay. But by this sanctuary, this safe haven, I guess, he meant his body. Okay, so he meant his body. Again, John Brown's body. Okay, let's see if we can even pull it up really quick. See, I need to start looking at the screen. I'm trying to keep my place in the book. Okay, so I've been here because I have it saved on the computer, but it's somewhere where it would just be somewhere where we can't get to it right now. It'll take too long. Okay, so we could be talking about two things. We could be talking about through his body, meaning through his family, because he had a whole lot of kids or children. Or we could be talking about through his group that he was with. Okay. John Brown's song, John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. A moldering in the grave, a moldering in the grave. His soul's marching on. So who are his souls? Are those the souls of his body? Are we talking about people here? I think I'm going to end this one soon, and we'll probably have to make it 2 parts. Salvageable by 1915 from Salvage. Salvageable 1797. So again, in 1797, I think that was a couple of years right before he died. Let's see. Okay, in reference to souls, 1797. Oh, would have been 3 years before he passed passed away, because he passed away in 1800. So 70, and also 97, I think 98, uh, I don't know if it's 89 or 98. I can't remember. It's just off my mind right now as to when the first president was basically here. But anyhow, in reference to ships and cargoes. Okay, so there you go. Ships and cargoes. Prediction, fact of being lost or destroyed. Again, they did lose it. I'm just using these: ruins, destruction, stem, intensive, something force, to give, damnation, condition, spiritual ruin, state of souls in hell. Again, we're thinking Hades being the god of the underworld, which again, you are in the underworld spiritually and physically in their way. So we're going to talk about Jacob's ladder in a minute, and how those other family lines have something to do with that, climbing up that ladder, because Jacob, or being sons or children of Jacob, being able to climb up that ladder to heaven, meaning going into the heavenly realm, meaning going into the governing forces and working for that structure of the caste system, being a certain class of individual in that group. Okay, has gradually existed in the general use of words. Again, here we go with underworld, 1600s. Remember what happened in 1619 supposedly. Search those dates from 1600 up until 1619 and around to see. Well, see, look at this. The lower world, Hades, place of departed souls. Again, the aboriginals were taken away from their standing. Also, the earth. Nigga, that's talking about earthlings. The earth, the aboriginal, the earliest people. That is what it's talking about. I don't care who you are and what. I've done the research on my channel. This is how we're going to go with it. The earth is speaking of that. Your concordance says it. In other texts. So the world below the skies. Again, and because I have to, because we are right here. And there's no other way to show you that this is what we're talking about. So if you have to click off because you're tired of seeing me do this, that's fine. But here we go. These are the caste, the outcasts, the street sweepers, the latrine cleaners, the toilet cleaners, slaves, maids. These are so-called aboriginal black people, the original peoples of lands that have been conquered or colonized by others. Here are the commoners, the peasants, and the servants. These are the children of theirs. These are the ones that they call Americans here in America, while they calling you African American and other misnomers, which they've changed your name as a group of people more than any other person in the world, and it's been over 10 times. So these are the commoners, peasants, and servants. Again, they work for the house of God. They don't even understand that, and they don't even know that. But again, here's the enmity between their seed and her seed, meaning America and her islands. Okay, and then here are all those people that we're talking about: the merchants and the soldiers, the military, the all the workers of these things. I was gonna say of iniquity, but again, these are the priests, the academics. These are the people that have control here. Okay, so again, just we're using that term right there. Okay, the earth, and if you look up the dome earth and look at where the Sheol is, sounds a lot like soul. Okay, you'll see how that structure is set up and how it resembles the caste system and other different structures that are symbolic, that are in this realm today. Below the skies. Again, these are below the skies. Okay, so again, all of these fowl were supposed to come up over you real high. So again, they're in the skies. Okay, as distinguished from heaven. Okay, and then heaven is just the abode or the house of God. And I'm telling you that this whole God-verning system is where He resides. Okay, similar formation in general. Dutch. Here we go back to Dutch again, meaning lower level of society. That is you. First attested in 1890. Now recorded in 1890. Now see, in 1890 and around this time, this is when some of these slave laws, I think if not that exact year, some of these slave laws were coming into effect for different portions of the land as to far as who was going to go into slavery forever. And that was all of the Negroes, the mestizos, the mulattoes, the Indians, and the, all of these groups of people were going to be now slaves forever. Okay. So criminals and organized crime collectively, attested in 1900. Again, incarnate, embodied in flesh, in human. Okay, so we see, pastors. Late 14th century, shepherd. Okay, and again, we already know that the text says that these shepherds were going to steer the people in the wrong direction. Also, spiritual guide. They're guiding your spirit away from self into outward idols that you worship today, and we've gotten down so low that has turned into celebrities from the housewives and basketball players and all of these people. So we don't strive to be anything more than what the hell you see on TV, and we still go through this and part of it is our fault, because I'm telling you, it's time to get the fuck up. It's time to wake up, because we will be going somewhere you do not want to go. You don't want your children to be headed in that direction. You do not need to be waiting for a savior. It is within. The text says that as well. Spiritual guides, shepherds of souls. These pastors have been leading your ass to pastors, okay, to munch on that nice grass while something else is coming up on your ass. And I'm telling you, now is the time. There is a very I just don't know, because there's no way to explain the feeling that I get about what's going on. And I don't like to try to cause fear, because I'm in a beautiful place mentally and spiritually. And I don't even feel those feelings of fear anymore, of hell or anything that these people have to offer. My biggest fear is not to get you guys to wake up and pay attention and speak with your own spiritual awareness and tap into some of these gifts that we have that have been diluted and mass manipulated by these people for a very long time. Again, anybody they put in front of your face on mainstream anything are not for you. They are not for you. One thing you have to do is, I feel like sometimes I'm in like this cocoon, and when things are going on and chaos is going on, I have to just center myself real quick and let all that stuff just bounce off of this shield, this barrier that I feel like is wrapped around me. And this is physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And it just helps. It helps so you can kind of feel around and kind of use your senses and your sensors to kind of take in that energy that you've been blocking out by putting other things in front of this, thinking that you're not worthy because this is what this religion has done, and it's just something you have to engulf yourself in and really seek that, so you can get your head and your feet get your head out of the clouds and put your feet on the ground, and then you will come out feeling like some type of warrior, like all of this stuff put together, knowing who we are and where we're from, and being connected to the real source that will be coming from within. You feel like nothing can touch you. You feel unstoppable, untouchable in a real sense. And it's just something. It's very powerful. Okay. It's very, and just all your life going through, I believe in God and God. And I noticed that it was fear that was keeping me there for a minute. And once I let go of that, and it's funny that it says the fear of God will lead you to something. Maybe we can look at it later. But again, these words don't really mean nothing after you get an understanding for some of these things. It just resides in you, so you don't. I don't know how to explain it. I just don't. Psyche, your soul. Again, to put a soul into. Okay, so from transfer from one body to another. Okay, so anyway, I know I'm going deep and I'm talking too much. So again. But by this sanctuary, okay, he meant his body. After he came back to life again, the disciples remembered his saying this and realized, like, we're all here. All of us that are in this grand rising, in this great awakening, we're all here for this moment. Embrace it. If you still have to deal with this regular everyday world, this rat race, take some time to embrace this. and actually act on it and just rise to that frequency, to that level that you're being called to. And don't be afraid. It's the most beautiful it's the most beautiful feeling. I can't imagine that anybody that's really thinking that this religious aspect of what God and this whole thing is, I can't imagine that they ever felt this before. Again, while the spiritual realm is guiding us, this, how can I put this together in 10 minutes and show this to you? Not saying that we came up with some groundbreaking information, but something in this video should lead you somewhere to want to do your own research or something. Something here should tap into you, and it should really sit with you. Okay? So let's see. Describe remembrance. Okay. The disciples remembered his saying this and realized that what he had quoted from the scriptures really did refer to him and had all come true. Okay, because of these miracles he did in Jerusalem at the Passover celebration, many people were convinced that he was indeed the Messiah, but Jesus didn't trust them. Okay, so it made him think that he was the Messiah, but Jesus didn't trust them, for he knew mankind. The human race. This is some kind of person, early 13th century. So go back to the third day in Genesis and read what was being created, and there you will find who mankind is. It's something kind of like a man. It was something that was built in somebody's likeness, okay? And it had to either come from somewhere else or it had to come from the earth. Okay? We're either talking about indigenous, native, alien, sub-races, or foreign or immigrant peoples. Some of us are not the human race. We are the earth. Which what they would refer to as earthlings. You are the earth. So this is why he says no one can get to the Father unless they come through me. That would be going into heaven unless they come through that washing or that whitewashing or that watering down of this foreign entity that has the power, in this governing force that has the power around the world. The human race collectively from man, okay, and kind. Also used occasionally in the Middle English for male person, okay? But otherwise preserving the original gender neutrality of men. Menfolk, masculine division of humanity, male sex, mankind, again, unless we're okay, and since we're in the early, I like to stick in the 1500s because I feel like I know a lot about that. I've gone through but when we get to the 1100s and 1300s and 1200s, I'm kind of iffy, but I'm thinking too, even knowing that there were supposedly certain groups or lands, especially they're trying to say that they found these people in Russia, which they could have, but let's not forget about the Amazonian women, which I'm going to tap into in a little bit with you guys. The ones that would cut off their left breast so that they can get a better aim. They would kill their male children or send them off to go live somewhere else. And it was just like a female fortress that was there. And they would invite men in sometimes here and there. Let's think about those women. And I really think that this woman, I don't know if you've run across the image. There's a picture of an Aboriginal empress. She has the 3 feathers in the front of her hair. She's really dark skinned, and she has like a dog type of creature that she's petting. And I think one of her breasts is maybe exposed, but you can tell that she has her bow and arrow. And I think the image might say something about America, but you can tell that one of her breasts is smaller than the other. And I'm thinking, could this be one of those women that we're talking about, that they're trying to say, oh, we found out for a fact, they tried to call it myth, but we found out for a fact that there are these women, but they're over here in Russia. Okay. But they're called Amazonian women, and we have the Amazon River. So, I mean, hey, maybe they have one too. So again, unless we're talking about something being women, Also, I told you guys about the island or something where some of these women are, I mean, some of these people are born over here in Americas, I believe, where some of these people are born one sex and then they change sexes later on around puberty. Okay. And we also know about castration, in the caste system or in the temple of God, working for that, that a lot of people were castrated. So again, who knows what was going on? Who knows if some of these places were literally just places where women were. And then they introduced this and raped their way in and took these babies, and then they were able to do this creation of these races or whatnot. I don't know. Okay. Um, but Jesus didn't trust them, for he knew mankind to the core. So he really knew them to the core. No one needed to tell him how changeable human nature is. So human nature. Let's look at nature. Restorative powers of the body. Bodily processes, powers of growth. Again, course of things, natural character, constitution, quality, the universe, literally birth. Okay. We sound like we talking about Mother Nature here. Born, past, to be born, gene, genitive, or to give birth or beget. Mid 14th century, the forces or processes of the material world. Living, okay, wait a minute. That which produces living things and maintains order. Who are we talking about here? Are we not the forces? That's what we call them here. The forces or process, okay, establishment, whatever, of the material world, which is, we kind of like material people living in material world at this point. That which produces living things. Doesn't God produce living things? But he kills off others, or actually reduces their stance, and maintains order. For a long time, they've been maintaining order in the east of this garden from late 14th century as creation, the universe. Now we're going back. The universe. Okay. Also heredity, birth, heredity, circumstances. Okay. Inherent constitution, innate disposition, or innate maybe. Also nature, personified, mother nature. Well, of course we got nature here, but I mean, I'm just saying it just already, she's speaking right here. Nature and nature have been paired. Nature or nurture have been paired and contrasted since Shakespeare's Tempest. Sorry, I think I need some water or something. Nature, again, you guys can kind of look through this. English men of science, okay? Because again, science may be helpful, but science, we're dealing with the ancients would have known more. Whatever they know, they think they're telling you in science today, the ancients would have already been doing. Okay. And so I think they just got their own high, thinking that theirs can outdo what's already initially in the natural substance or vicar of the natural earth, the original beings. Specifically, material world, okay, man before organized society, nature worship, religion, which deifies the phenomena of physical nature in 1840. Okay, so again, you guys can look at these natural, again, excuse me, John Brown had a lot of children. It actually says that his wife birthed these children, and I never seen them talk about they might say had children, begat children, or she had the, they say it in a different way. You have to just watch very carefully how they describe these. And a lot of these women, these so-called first ladies and stuff, couldn't even have children. And, it just makes you question everything that comes to this transgender thing that's going on right now. Because it's not nothing new. Okay. Let's see. Native born. Okay. Miraculous. Okay. Illegitimate bastard. Not artificially cultivated or created. Now, who is that? Because, again, here we go talking about 1600s. Of objects or substance not artificially cultivated or created. That is you. That is the original. That is the conductor of all, that doesn't know who he is, and so is not using his power at the moment. That something is tapping and saying, wake up, pay attention, know who you are, stand your ground. And we think that means marching and all this other stuff that can get you caught up in the trap or the grips of these people, when it doesn't necessarily mean that. Again, so somebody was cultivated and created. And if I'm telling you that slavery was more about breeding than it was work, okay? So existing in nature. So again, in nature, in earth, that is the oldest. We can use aboriginal to get you there, but the oldest is earth itself, or earthlings. The illegitimate bastard of children is recorded from the 1400s, the notion of blood kinship, but not legal status. Again, they were coming into your family lines too. Let's see. Expression of right reason, okay. Apparent by nature, natural children, again, would not. Okay, so yes. So I think that's it. I know this video is probably long, so I'm going to go ahead and be quiet. If I have to, we'll come back, because that wasn't even what I wanted to show you guys. But I like to take my time and bring you through with me. So we're going to go ahead and go into John chapter 3, verse 1, which starts off as, after dark one night, a Jewish religious leader named Nicodemus, a member of the sect of Pharisees, because we're talking about Pharisees too around this time. So again, once you start using etymology, the timeline comes to life. So does the timeline in the text, which shows you that this is a legitimate way of researching this word and coming into the truth, along with his story. That's why I like to lay these three things out. So again, there's lots of witnesses as to what we're talking about, and we can still stay on the subject at hand. So again, sent you to teach us. Your miracles are proof enough for this. Okay, so again, we're going to go ahead and go into that, because it's very, okay, so remember that, after dark one night, right? Let me just show you something to see if you even want to come back. See if you even want to come back. Let's see. Okay, so then we're going to go into, this may be talking about what was going on already. Brown had decided God-like who would die and who would be spread, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then right here we're going to talk about on the night of October. So again, they made sure they wanted to reference to night. Same thing the text is doing right here, after dark one night. And one of these things that they make sure to reference that in every time when they're talking about this story, to say that it was at dark or one evening or something like that. So again, we're going to go into some more stuff here. If you guys want to stick around, we're going to go ahead and go into John 3 next. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. We're going to talk about how Jesus replied in John 3 and 5. What I'm telling you so earnestly is this: unless one is born of water and the Spirit. So again, the water is being washed by water. Noah's flood. This is a flooding of immigrants on a group of people. So you're going to have to turn your children over to these people to have children with them, so that they can be lightened up and lifted up into the house or the abode of God, which is within this here realm. because these people are a mixture of black and white, so-called black and white. And again, they're on the floor, so it reminds me of this whole thing with let's go there real quick. So it reminds me of the whole thing of when we're talking about this floor right here that they stand on. And he even has his tools, his pottery tools. And then in one of these images, you'll see that the Jacob's ladder is here. There's a lot of stuff, maybe even a child being born here with this star in the sky. You know, we see this light here that's behind the eye, the one eye symbol that's on the dollar bill right here. And then we also see the eyeball on his girt about the pap in his girdle or whatever. And then we also see here the thing here, the compass. And then you see the dead carcass or underneath here. And if you look at the dome earth, this dome is kind of like the same kind of shape as the dome earth. And then you have the ground, and then, you know, it's above the ground, but, you know, where you can see it, that is, the casket isn't underground. It's just sitting there. Represents so-called black people that have been given several misnomers as supposed races or nationalities, which just keep us dead by law and as property of these people. So again, there's your step up with your enmity between the seed and their seed. Okay. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care.